This is the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast, with Kriese, Mino, and Mark, bringing you all your Defo news and talk. Welcome to Season 3, the Chaos Era. Now let's start the show.
Welcome everyone to this episode 97 of the Crystal Chronicles, going ever closer to that mystical number 100. I welcome all of you joining us live on Twitch. It's always nice to have a crowd of you with us to interact with and to just have your energy and presence. It is very, very fun to have a group of people here. But if you're watching on video on demand or on YouTube or on our podcast, thank you. And if you're catching us live and can't stay the entire time or catching us later, you can check out all of those links at tccpodcast.com, including the ability to just stream right from there, or search Defolk, the Crystal Chronicles on YouTube, or follow us on Twitter or Facebook, or join our Discord. That's all the stuff. Well, we have a lot to talk about and a special friend, so let's start the show. I am Mark, your host, and I am joined by not one, but two, but not two, but three co-hosts. The first being the ever-quiet working man, Mino Spellgood, or Dramino Spellgood. How are you doing?
Hey, Mark.
Dramino.
I'm doing okay. I got a small lull in my workload, so I get to enjoy the FF7 remake this weekend. I'm going to see if I can knock it out, because I'm going to be busy again next week. 30 hours, people are saying, that's doable in 3 days, right? If I kill myself, I guess.
Totally.
I don't know.
Totally. I'm going to get it all done tomorrow, so nothing going on this weekend. I'm joking. We are also joined by another working man, and his name is Kriese, a.k.a. Zerink. How you doing, Kriese?
Good evening, everyone. I am doing well. I sound more cognizant than Mino right now, but we'll see how long that lasts.
And we are joined, I don't know if he's working or not, but we are joined by the Tonberry King himself. He is working on Defo always. His name is Inkwelder. Inkwelder, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's been a bit, but I'm glad to be back. And I'm also glad I was feeling sick for the past 2 days and was worried, and I am no longer worried anymore because I took good care of myself. Make sure to sleep, people. Maybe an exception for this weekend with FF7, but we'll see.
Yes, we hope everyone is safe. We hope everyone is well. If you are, or know someone who has come down with this reality called COVID-19, hey, send us a note. Let us know so we can share that with our community, send out our good vibes and thoughts and prayers, or support if needed. So let us know how we can continue to support each other during this time. One way we can do that is to have some fun in the midst of isolation and stress and everything else. So do take care of yourself. Have some fun. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Unless you absolutely have to, because you've been mandated by the government to be under pressure, and I hope that is not the case. I hope you are able to find some respite in this very trying time. So let's talk about something fun, and that is Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. And we do have some news. Just a reminder that your early April Chocobo panel missions are set to expire. Toot sweet. So make sure that you have finished all of your missions. The Spring Festival, you have 4 days on that, and you have 6 days left on the early April missions. Good rewards in both of those.
The special MOG one.
Yes.
For April Fools.
Unfortunately, the April Fools event was very limited time, and so I hope you were able to get that. If not, you did miss out on some nice rewards. And the most powerful of the summons, the Spirit Moogle. We also have the Spring Festival EX tokens, and that is a mission every day. So make sure that you are paying attention to what those missions were today, which is here in the United States. Whew. If I just scroll past it, the 9th of April, our mission today was clear the mission dungeon quest Red Gates in normal mode. So that was one of the very first quests of the Burrow of the Phoenix. So that was 9 out of 10. So you should have been able to complete 9 out of 10 of those. Make sure you're checking. They're all different. They're not just play 5 quests, play 3 co-ops. They may be those because they do include those, but they are different every single day. So we are at 9 out of 10. So tomorrow we will be able to get your 10th EX shop token, and maybe your plans have changed like mine. But we will talk about that perhaps next
Mark,
week.
Wait, your plans changed? Who are you tokening now?
Well, my plans have changed because I was planning to waste my token on Lightning in the off chance I did not get her. But now that we have a new valuable character in the EX shop who was not going to be valuable for a few months, I am going to pick him up, I believe, with my EX tokens because I did not get him on the banner itself. So.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit, but hopefully you can put some I's and T's there to figure out what's going on. So let's look back last week. We do have a lot of things to talk about this week, but last week we had 2 new characters, or I should say 2 new realizations, and that is realizations for Vayne and Cecil, or Vayne and Paladin Cecil, however you want to pronounce those. And we've had some time to play with them. We've had some time to use them in various different chaoses. We're going to talk about 6 chaos events, or maybe even 7 chaos events today. Vayne, Beatrix. 7. We're talking about 7 different chaos battles today, which is a lot. So you've had some time to use Paladin Cecil and Vayne in various different things. I know I have, but anybody else, what has your experience with Paladin Cecil or Vayne been? Want to start with Paladin Cecil? Anybody had a chance to use Paladin Cecil, and what's your opinion been?
I'll start talking first. I've been enjoying Paladin Cecil a lot. He's a really strong character. He does not need to lean on his abilities to get through a fight. He is designed to take advantage of his Brave Plus with HP Plus. And he's a solid all-rounder. He brings healing, he brings battery, he brings damage, and a Holy Imperil for himself to make sure his damage is decent. Just note that if he does not have that Holy Imperil, he's not going to be doing as much damage as you would like, as Mino found out last night when he tried to bring Paladin Cecil against the Phoenix Chaos.
No, it worked. I brought him against the Chaos to all the Chaoses, and he was still hitting like 7k with the Imperils, and no other supporting him. I mean, of course, the Phoenix also had melee and range weakness.
Yes.
So I will say, he was able to hit some weakness to cancel that out. I mean, I don't know about a full resist, but his damage was again, Phoenix is such a weird test because he's hitting weakness and getting resisted at the same time. So I don't know how that evens out in the end, actually.
Yeah, I really like Paladin Cecil. I was not able in a couple of attempts that I tried. I think it's very possible to use him in Dimensions and Entropy Tier 9. I just went with the easy route to get it done before the show and move on to the Phoenix event. But I may go back and use him in some other things. But I really do like him. I think he provides a interesting defensive utility and some offensive power. Abyss. Abyss.
So I purpled him. Did you all purple him also?
Yes, I did.
I purpled him, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I've enjoyed using him just because he has one of those balanced hits that I like, where he's got one skill that's single target that does good battery, and then another skill that shaves AoE. And so it sort of lets you use his skills based on the situation. I did find that his EX charges fast enough that, like, if the boss was going to recover from break or something, and I was worried about them going into like a Brave plus HP attack or something, that I felt like I had to Brave plus, and so I didn't always use his EX when it was up. which was sort of surprising. But in general, I've really liked using him, especially with Sabin, of course, because Sabin drops the framed holy debuff, and it's very easy to keep it, since all of Sabin's skills imperil that. So yeah, sort of makes sure even if like an enemy cleanses or something, it's really easy for the two of them to keep it going, and he actually rounds out Sabin's kit really well. They pair nicely.
Yeah, I actually think he pairs really well with Yuri and Kieran. That's kind of been my go-to team. Although you're going to get I mean, we have some other characters in terms of Ico as a good support. And does Hope do holy damage in his rework with his EX?
I don't think so.
I know he summons Alexander, right? So I wasn't sure if it actually did holy damage without looking off the top of my head. But there are some other holy options. But yeah, him and Yuri work really well together.
Yeah, I did use Yuri also, and they're great.
To add on to that, he's just really strong without having to do anything. He's a lot like his wife Rosa, I guess, where he literally just needs to stand there. It doesn't really matter what button you press. They all do pretty much the same thing. They all battery a bit. They all do holy damage. I mean, when I used him for quite a bit in Abyss and the Phoenix event and Vayne's Chaos, which I kind of regretted using him for. But you really just, I don't know, you just press buttons. I never had to make a decision with him, I felt. Either one of his abilities did basically the same thing, and he just has to stand there with his buffs up to contribute to the party.
Yeah,
and I mean,
besides, skill 1 is melee, skill 2 is ranged, right? Skill 2 does brave AoE brave hits, skill 1 does single target hits. But yeah, I mean, you're right.
Skill 1 is, I mean, skill 1 doesn't battery himself after, whereas it does battery himself if he's at full HP. If you need to avoid a break and he's being targeted, you can use Holy Flame. Like it's great for that. So I wouldn't say that they're completely interchangeable.
But I mean, you are using you're using his HP attack a lot. I mean, it's really, really powerful. So
yeah,
I'm oversimplifying, but I'm saying in like any like average fight, like Vayne's Chaos, you don't really have to worry about the typing because he's gonna get the Holy Imperil on. And besides that, it's like either one you do. Some batteries going out, some holies going out. Of course, you can splash it for skill 2, but against like a single target, you can use either one, and there'll be a minimal difference. Like, sure, there'll be some decision making, but he is definitely a character you can give to your like 8-year-old nephew to push buttons, and he'll still like function pretty well, kill everything. You know, in hindsight, he's still insanely strong. I think in hindsight, he is the better pull compared to Vayne, in my opinion. And he's very easy to use, very strong. His heal is actually really ridiculous. I think that's the most consistent heal over time in the game right now. Even longer lasting and more uptime than Echo's, I believe.
I remember us discussing this last night too, but Pinello has a stronger heal. Rosa has a heal that's slightly weaker, but still there. There are plenty of characters who do provide consistent healing in the Chaos era right now.
Yeah. And it certainly doesn't hurt to have multiple, especially utility characters. If you need some extra healing or if you need just minor healing, he can fit in both roles really well. So,
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have two characters now in Paladin Cecil and Beatrix, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, who really provide a really nice third slot niche, defense and offense. I mean, Beatrix a little bit more on the defensive side. But both really nice third slot characters that are just really strong, really solid. They're not going to be your number one DPS. They're not going to be your number one support, but they do a lot and are fairly straightforward. That's for sure. And thankfully they're decent characters. Vayne is anything else on Paladin Cecil? We all 3-3'd him, so I guess that
he has an awesome voice actor.
Strong.
The voice actor is so good.
just a good character all around. I mean, when I was saying what I was saying earlier, I just meant to point out that he is that easy to use when we're surrounded by, more complex characters that you really have to like work at to get your mileage out of. Pessil's good to go out of the box. He's just strong.
Yeah. Yeah, and you could probably slot him into pretty much any Dimensions End. I mean, there's going to be a few that he's excluded from, but he would fit in on a third slot in a lot of those teams, and obviously in a lot of Chaos events, as Beatrix will do the same thing. So, on the other hand, we have Vayne, who's a little bit more complicated than just pressing buttons, although you can just press buttons. But man, I mean, just watching, even using Vayne as much as I have this week, just to mess around with him and use him in different chaoses. I mean, the way watch somebody like Vayne Novus playing him. I mean, Vayne Novus, the Tonberry Troupe member, is so systematic and so well thought out in how he plays him, and has the patterns down perfectly. I mean, it's just amazing to watch him play Vayne. I'm not there yet. I'm still screwing up the patterns, not screwing up the breaks and the re-breaks, and But he's super powerful. The free turns, you can never underestimate those free turns. The skill regeneration that he gets is just amazing. His pacing is really good. But I mean, if you want to like get the most out of him, you really got to understand his rotations, his patterns, and what your enemy is doing. So I mean, he's just he's a little bit more complicated, that's for sure. So, yeah. Mino, did you have anything? Or Ink, did you have anything to say about Vayne?
Well, first off, I ran him in Beatrix alongside Porum, and that was really tricky, I would say, to manage Porum's 2-turn buff with Vayne. But I feel like he doesn't have a rotation. I feel like you want to pay attention to more things when you're playing. Like I thought that I actually played him. I thought while I was doing my video that I was playing him really poorly. And then Vayne Novus watched it, and I was like, Vayne, please be honest. How did I do? I feel like I messed up a ton. And he was like, yeah, you did good, besides forgetting how good Vayne's C65 is. Yes. But outside of that, I feel like you can be pretty aggressive with Vayne in terms of using his skills. I think the worst thing that feels bad is that when you feel like you have to use a force of will while you have your EX up to delay or something like that. Like you don't want to use Tree of Saphira Plus ever. Right. And so it feels real bad when you have to like use a skill while his EX is still up. So there's some there, but he's absolutely ridiculously powerful, that lets you manipulate the bosses so much that you can just mess with them, letting them unbreak, then re-breaking them. You can push them back real far, just using his normal skills, not even burning him out, really.
Hey, just want to stop on stream for a second. Yeah, I had volume down on everybody. I apologize, as I'm doing some other videos and other recordings for other things. So I just turned up my desktop audio, so hopefully you'll be able to hear everybody better. Yeah, okay, good. Thank you, everybody on stream. It was going to be a little quiet there. Thankfully that will get fixed in the podcast version. I always equalize it, so that's not an issue. But yeah, maybe rotation's not the right word for Vayne, but like you said, just being really attentive to what you're doing.
I definitely have like a roadmap sort of with him. I found in most situations where you open up, assuming 3/3 Vayne, you open up with skill 1. And then you get your free turns. Oh, this is assuming you just do pummel pluses. If you just do pummel pluses, it becomes very really predictable, because you can do skill 1, go through your plus phase, which is just 2 pummel pluses, then skill 1, skill 2, and then you alternate between those depending on the context. Like skill 1, if the enemy has brave, you can break, or skill 2 first if you need a re-break. And then you do your plus phase again, then you do skill 1 into EX, and then you repeat. And you just change the skill order depending on break or rebreak, and that usually works. But it is still context sensitive, like Ink said. You are still paying attention. I'm probably going to get yelled at this, but I actually don't appreciate Vayne that much now. I think when it comes to turn manipulation, he's the best. I think he's better than ulti, better than RNA for sure. But when it comes to free turns and just pure damage output, again, I mean, don't put him as a 100% pure DPS. But the rebreaks and the consecutive free turns, very, very good. Pure damage output, not the best, sadly. So I understand, like we were memeing, there's a lot of people on Facebook and stuff who are saying, oh, well, if you have RNA, you don't really need Vayne. I mean, I'm going to get yelled at for this, but I think it's kind of true. Honestly, I did a lot of comparisons between the two. And again, this is a pure DPS perspective. If you want to talk about turn manipulation, Vayne is much, much better. Longevity, Vayne is much, much better.
I'll also point out that Vayne has auras for the party that neither RNA nor Ultimisia bring.
Right. Like, he has more utility, but in a pure DPS race, he will not beat ulti or RNA. But I don't know. I'm sure I'm going to catch shit for that. But I ran it. Like, the Phoenix was the best place to test it, because that fight is so fucking tanky and you have to run it 4 times. And the free turns seem really cool, but at the end of the day, all said and done, it doesn't cut as many turns. So I had a lot of fun with the Phoenix event, which we'll get to, but running different comps, King, replacing only the DPS slot, King had a shorter turn count in the end. Ulti had a shorter turn count in the end. RNA had a shorter turn count in the end. His free turns feel good, but honestly, Pummel Plus is locked to, what, 2997?
You're forgetting about
from
the
0?
he gets to.
Oh, yeah, I know, but I'm saying, like, hit-wise. The 3-hit free turn equals a 6-hit with minimal overflow, which other DPS can actually surpass. Again, I'm not saying he's terrible. He's still really, really up there. Just that he is, unfortunately, because of GL circumstances, he is very skippable in what he does, in my opinion. But Kriese, Mark, feel free to correct me here.
No, I think you're right. Yeah,
Vayne really feels a difference. I mean, he does the free turn thing, but the turn manipulation and the party auras, I think, are his stronger suits. The ability to delay so substantially, the ability to unbreak and rebreak when necessary. I mean, and don't forget, his additional ability allows him to basically pull out extra turns even during his free turns as necessary and maintain his buffs longer if he needs to. I've used his AAs to just bird turns when I'm trying to wait for a break-rebreak opportunity. I've done it when I want to get rid of an annoying debuff that I can't get rid of otherwise. He has his uses. He's not going to be dominant, and he's not going to be the one you use for everything, but he is a solid character.
Looks like I thought chat was going to tear me apart, but a lot of people in chat are agreeing that some people who have Vayne and RNA are saying, yeah, Vayne is very, very skippable. And other people are saying, because I have RNA, I can take the investments I was going to put into Vayne into a lot of other hyped characters coming up. And these are all valid approaches, honestly.
I mean, I think Vayne is totally... You don't have to have him 100%. He's useful. I mean, it's going to be like Leo. He's going to be another character to slot in another Dimension's End who's going to be powerful, who's going to get you through. So, skippable, yes. I mean, at this point, who isn't skippable? There's not going to be a lot of,
everyone's skippable.
No skippables.
Hero feels really good, though.
But I mean, again, he's certainly skippable. Hiro Satos is asking a question about Cyan, who's a character that's in this game, and something about I pulled like 10 weapons for the guy, and I'm considering selling them to max my weapons. Hey, well, here's what you do. So Cyan is garbage right now, and he's going to be garbage for a long time. But here's what you do. You max limit break if you get multiple weapons. You max limit break them. So you combine them, you fully level them so that they're blue, and then you have the little check mark next to them, and then you sell them. You get the same number of power stones, and then you don't have to get the weapon for the day that maybe he does come back and he's fairly useful. So, Yeah, so I never encourage people to sell weapons until they max limit break them. I know early on and I did it early on in the game. Early on, that's a big temptation. And I know we're off topic, but there are a lot of new people. We're always getting new people to the show, and some of those people are new to the game. So feel free to ask those questions. There's no stupid questions. We've been playing the game for almost 2.5 years. Those kind of things seem pretty simple to us. And our friend Josepher, who's on YouTube and does some streaming as well, he just did an introductory video about that, some things, for newer players. And so you can check that out. Some good advice. And we have some other friends who have done that. So, but feel free to join our Discord and ask any of those questions all the time. But yeah, definitely encourage you not to sell weapons until you max limit break them. But yeah. All right, well, let's move on from last week to this week.
We're actually still on this last week.
Oh, yeah, crap, I always forget.
TCC Challenge for Vayne's Lost Chapter.
I always forget. So, Vayne's Lost Chapter had a chaos event, and Vayne and Paladin Cecil were synergy, and so that was easy. Who was the other synergy character? Cyan. Oh, yeah. That was less easy with Cyan. So we did a TCC challenge for... we talked about the Chaos event last week, right?
We did talk about the Chaos event, but we had just gotten the event about a day beforehand, so we had not issued a TCC challenge yet. We barely had any calls
you can, if you want to hear more about the mechanics of the event, you can go last week and hear about that because we have a lot more chaoses to talk about this week. But we did issue a TCC challenge, and the ban. So remember, anyone can submit to Macnol's Call to Arms. We encourage everyone who gets a clear to submit to Macnol's Call to Arms, MACNOL, on Reddit. He shares it on Twitter, on our Discord, on Facebook. Go check out the TCC, go check out the Call to Arms, the C2A by Macnol, MACNOL. And then every week we do a TCC challenge as part of the Call to Arms, which bans certain characters to help give people additional challenge or help people be a little bit more creative. So this week we may have gone a little overboard with the bans. We banned Vayne, Cecil, Pinello, Rosa, Yushtola, Zach, Tifa, Edge, Lael, and as always, Aranea, friend Aranea were banned. So this week, I actually had a lot of fun trying this myself. I usually don't do the TCC challenges because I do a lot of other work for the show, and I just enjoy playing the game, and I just enjoy talking to people about the game more than doing these challenges. So I did it several times, and I really did enjoy it. And talking with people and strategizing, I do enjoy that quite a bit. But it was very difficult, and there was only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 entries in the challenge. Only 7 people did it. They are Vayne Novice, Dreamy, Cyrus, Strafe, Yoshi Pasta, Lizette, and Preman. Preman's a new name I'm not familiar with. He did it with King, Fully Limit Broke, Charlotta, and Iggy won Ignit. Just 4 ingots total for Preman. So good job. He's the winner of the TCC challenge, but anybody who did it was a winner. Lizette did King, Irving, Porum. Yoshi did Papa Lamo, Setzer, Kate. Strafe did King, Rem, Celeste. Cyrus did King, Warrior of Light, Irving. Dreamy did Yuri, Ultimisha, Setzer. And Vayne did Yuri, King, Warrior of Light. So it was manageable. It was possible. And there was a little bit of creativity needed. But obviously you saw a lot of Kings in those runs. And some other options too. Papa Mo did very well in that run, and Dreamy did get the Yuri, Ultimisha, Setzer run in there as well. So congratulations to all of you, and thank you. This next one we went a little bit easier on. So did anybody want to say more about that, or just is that enough on that challenge?
Mino, do you want me to field this, or do you want to do it?
Sure, go for it.
So the reason the cult or the TCC challenge for the Vayne event ended up the way it was is because we were looking back at the most recent call to arms threads and the TCC challenges we'd issued, and we said, well, it's not really mattering what we're banning because people are still getting through it, and a lot of players are getting through it with relative ease. So maybe we need to go harder. Maybe we need to cut off more characters, cut off more potential strategies to get through the fight, which ended with us banning ridiculous characters for this, such as Edge and Tifa, who I don't think had any presence before we even banned her. If she did, she had 1 or 2 fights in her name. Edge was actually heavily resisted for this because Lightning was resisted. We still banned them because we didn't want the cheese. And that ended up coming across as a cruel twist by some people on our Discord. The intention was not to make it impossibly hard. It was to try to make a challenge that people would have to rise to instead of just say, oh yeah, lol, just delete the top 5 characters. We'll still get through it. It's okay.
Yeah. All right, so don't hate us.
I thought it was fine. Oh, sorry. I thought it was fine. We got a lot of creative teams there. People who did it were... I don't know. I thought it was a knee-jerk reaction. It's a challenge. It's not supposed to be accessible by nature. The best example is Dreamy. He was so mad at the challenge for so long, and then he did it. And then he was so happy, and he had nothing to complain about anymore. And this was all in a span of a day, by the way. The challenge only took him a day to complete. So I don't know. I don't know what people want. I
also want to point out that this is an optional challenge for people who want to push hard and show that they can be creative or use different units that might not be popping up in popularity as much. The idea is not to just give you a hard challenge and say, bang your head against the wall. But we do want to make it so people are enjoying it too, which is the reason we've eased off it for the last event.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things we could do, obviously. And again, be creative and try to do low ingot investments or try to do other things. I think at the end of the day, being able to not use just the meta characters, or if everything was, if we didn't ban RNA and everybody used RNA, then those people who missed out on RNA aren't doing anything. Or the idea of we ban the synergy characters because they're the characters that you are supposed to pull on to beat the event. So if you can beat it without those characters, even better. But it has evolved over time, and it may evolve further. So so we're going to continue to adjust it and mess with it. And thank you for keep playing, and thank you everyone for submitting to the call to arms. I think that's what's most important, to have that data and to have those videos out there so people can see how to play, how to do it. And banning people like Science kind of silly, but he wasn't banned. In this event, you could have brought him. No one did, oddly enough, because he's that terrible. Well, that does bring us to our new material.
Sorry, just as a little aside, I put it in chat, but just to say for the podcast, in the initial list of banned characters that Mino offered, he wanted to ban Cyan for this.
Yeah.
Look, in my defense, I say all synergy should be banned either way. Because, look, we didn't do that. We almost let Vanille slip in Beatrix because everyone forgot she has her EX +2. We're like, oh, who are the 3 synergies? Beatrix and who's the other big one? Oh, Steiner, right? Let's ban those 2. And then we were almost going to finalize a list, and they're like, yeah, there's a lot of Vanilles in here for some reason. It's like, oh, because she's synergy. Like, I just think synergy, it just be an automatic ban. It's not like anyone's going to use Scion anyways if we don't ban him. I don't see the harm.
Someone used him. Someone definitely used Cyan. I don't know if it wasn't in the TCC
It was a hard
challenge,
carry with like a solo Vayne doing the
of course, you should not ban anyone that has an 80% HP max brave conditional. Please, come on.
Just be an automatic ban, like RNA. We're just saying automatic. We're not even like assessing how well she'll do in the fight. We're just assuming like for a flat constant.
Yeah, let me see if
we're almost past the era where it's not going to matter anymore because we're almost caught up on reworks and everything.
Just wait for ranged resist, let Aranea through, and ban Lulu, Onion Knight, and Paladin Cecil.
but that's just more bans in the end, right? That's more restrictive. At least those guys can enable a bunch of other people, but it doesn't matter. I'm good with this subject.
I do not see the Cyan run on the call to arms. So
I saw a screenshot. I didn't see a video of it, but
there's a couple
yeah.
of Vayne solo runs, which makes me think that Cyan could be carried through.
He
And I
could
thought
be
I remember
carried.
seeing the Cyan.
Yeah, there's
run.
a Vayne.
Maybe it never made it to the called arms.
Amaterasu did do a Vayne solo run with Leviathan, friend Aranea. So, potential that you could bring him with. Although not really, because that would screw up Vayne's. That screws up Vayne's. That screws up his turn
rotation
rate.
or the various. I think he has 3 rotations that Vayne Novus listed.
Yeah.
In his video that he was operating with, and they do not work on a team.
Yeah, they don't work on a team at all.
I would guess that solo Vayne is probably easier than Vayne carrying Cyan.
100%.
I don't know. Someone try it.
Yeah, no, because I did full synergy. I did Cyan, Paladin Cecil, and Vayne, and that was not easy. So at all, it was doable, but it was not easy. So I didn't use friend Aranea either. If I did, that probably would have been a little easier. Can we move on to the Beatrix event? Rose of May. Well, for those of you who don't remember,
want to let people know that I've heard some people say, wait, why are we getting an event? Wasn't this supposed to be a lost chapter? And the answer is no. What happened is that we got an early global first character, but now we're being put back on the Japanese schedule where Beatrix was officially released at this point in their timeline as an event character. So we will not get a lost chapter for Beatrix until about 8 months out now.
And likely that will be the same way with Aranea. We will get a rerun of her event and then get her lost chapter later. Teliute, thank you for the subscription, and he wants to remind us that Vayne Novus is precious. If you hate the Tonberry Troupe, direct all of your hate to Teliute. So please do that. So we don't want to hurt our precious Vayne Novus. And check all of our friends at the Tonberry Troupe out. I'll let Ink later talk about what's going on in the troupe. But so this is an event, not a lost chapter, because this was a global first character that we got around our first anniversary. And if you remember, back in the first anniversary, Beatrix was bonkers broken. She she just had more skills, more damage. She had this crazy thing called overflow, 120% that her abilities could overflow damage, which was insane. And she was very useful in completing content in the EX era, for 3 months, and some people used her up to 4, 5, 6 months. So she was a exceptional powerhouse. So I saw a lot of hype here over the last few weeks about Beatrix is coming back, and a lot of new players. Oh, I gotta pull Beatrix. She's so great. She was so powerful the first time. Well, she's good, but she's certainly not the same kind of character that she was last year. So let's talk a little bit about Beatrix, and that is my job today. So she did get a rework, thankfully. Her rework comes in the form of her ability crystal strength passives. So 55 and 60 were adjusted. So Saint's Cloth, her skill 1, gets additional uses. Her defense boost becomes a large defense boost, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. It also, Saint's Cloth before was just a kind of a battery. Now it gets a 2-hit Brave plus HP attack. And has the ability to do additional overflow. Her HP plus was modified to become a battery ability. Her HP plus has an additional brave attack and does overflow. Her second skill, which is Thunder Slash, does group brave damage. It does a single HP attack, but it does group brave damage. Does more damage. It increases the length of her Noble Loyalty boost. Her Thunder Slash Plus becomes 3 hits, I believe. Or no, that's just regular. Thunder Slash becomes 3 hits. And has a 150% overflow. Thunder Slash Plus is 6 hits and does 180% overflow. And then her Brave Plus has been upgraded as well. So that's the base of her rework. She actually does get it, and it does get a little bit better. She does now have an EX realization. Oh, and she got a C65 ability, an AA ability, which is called HP Heal All. Heals the party HP damage, 10% of max HP, and gives them a brief attack up aura for 5 turns, 10%. Does additional healing if you bloom it, additional healing if you level 70 her. So that's her AA, but she does get a EX realization. Now, with her EX realization, if the party has 12 total buffs or more, so that this is going to be a big part of her kit moving forward, having 12 total party buffs, that unlocks Brave +++, HP +++, and Clim Hazard plus. Brave +++ is a party buff. If it has party buff 12 plus, can't activate it if it doesn't. It is a 4-hit with a 4-hit Brave with a party battery that is based off of attack that does do overflow. Her HP +++ is a 3-hit Brave plus HP attack with overflow. That batteries the party 20% of the damage.
Allies, not the party.
Yes, does not battery herself. Batteries allies. Thank you for that. Clim Hazard Plus is now a 8-hit AoE. Brave plus AoE HP attack, does split damage and overflow damage. The potency increases, and this is all just realizing her with just a book. And she recovers a use of Thunder Slash. And Sworn General, it has additional attack and max Brave boost. Sworn General is her buff from Clim Hazard, her EX ability. That's a lot of stuff for just a realization, but with 1 ingot investment, she does get an attack and max Brave up 40%. At 2, she gets both the defense buff to everybody. So the party gets their defense buff, which is at base 100% now, which is amazing. HP regen, which is those 2 from Saint's Cloth. Noble Loyalty, which is from Thunder Slash, and Sworn General. So she gets 4. And everybody else gets 3 just from the start. So that's not 12, but that's pretty close. So if you play with a couple other people who have buffs, you're going to start with those 12. And if you fully realize her, which I certainly would suggest because she is, even though she's a defensive character, she is a defensive character that does decent damage. She gets 150% overflow with Clim Hazard regular, and it does more damage. Clim Hazard Plus and Clim Hazard Plus Plus, which is the variant with the 12 buffs, does 200% overflow and even more damage. And most importantly, if you fully realize her, after she uses Clim Hazard, she gets an HP attack that becomes Holy Knight's Safeguard. So she gets that until it is used. So once she uses her EX, her HP plus or her HP plus plus or HP plus plus plus, whatever it is at the time, becomes Holy Knight's Safeguard. And that does not expire until you use it. You can't use any other HP attack until you do. So you can use Saint's Cloth, you can use her AA, you can use her EX, obviously, you can use Thunder Slash, you can use Brave, but as long as you have this up, you can't use her regular HP plus plus. Holy Knight's Safeguard is basically the same as the HP plus plus plus, but then gives the special boost Holy Knight's Safeguard, a frame buff that lasts 1 turn. Well, she has this buff, Holy Knight Safeguard, from the attack Holy Knight Safeguard. It reduces the party HP damage taken to 0. So that is her big new mechanic. She has the ability to prevent HP damage if you time it correctly. So Beatrix is... I've been using her a lot. I fully purpled her. I think she's really fun to play. I think in her event, I went full synergy in her chaos. We'll talk about in a little bit, using all 3 of the synergy characters and a Steiner friend, so all 4 of the synergy characters. and I ended the chaos fight with 7 uses of Thunder Slash, because she regenerates those so fast, and her HP plus is so good. Not to mention her special attack. It just she's really, really powerful, and she has with her. I should say she does get a D-Sphere, which is nice. D-Sphere is party max brave 5% for 6 turns when dealing critical hits. Remember, the D-Spheres are the Aura Spheres. She herself has an A, B, and a D-Sphere, so you could put that on her or on other people. That's probably better to put on some other people with D-Spheres. She does want, for artifacts, all 3 of her C50 Continent's Finest at 2-star. That gives everybody in the party attack and defense 5% per each one, and that is when her Noble Loyalty is active, so it kind of stacks on top of that. And then attack 108 is her preference as well, because she is a damage dealer. So if you have all 3 of her artifacts and her buffs up, she can add 145% to defense, which is fairly significant, even in chaos, when we think, well, defense isn't that big of a deal. But yeah, she really, really can make a big difference. A lot, even in chaos, a lot of enemies doing 1 damage against the tankier characters. And that being said, she can pair well with other tanks because she can increase their defense if they're defense-based tanks as opposed to like evade tanks. She can, add to their defense and prevent the damage that they're taking very, very, very effectively. So I'll let everybody else talk about her, but I've had a lot of fun using her. She's one of my favorite characters in the game, period. I had a lot of fun using her last time around. I've had a lot of fun using her this time around. There's a lot of other things we could talk about, but other things you guys want to talk about, Beatrix?
Let me quickly step in and correct myself. I accidentally corrected Mark when I shouldn't have. Beatrix's HP plus does battery the party, not just allies. I forgot that, and I am sorry, everyone, for saying that incorrectly.
Yeah, HP plus batteries allies. HP plus batteries the party. So HP plus when you have 9 total buffs. HP plus when you have 12 total buffs and you have realized her EX weapon. So to clarify that. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, let me bring up that I also purpled Beatrix, and I've been having a lot of fun with her. She is not the dominant terror she was back a year ago, but I don't think she really needs to fill that role. She's much more of a support offensive niche now. I think her biggest drawback is that she's so dependent on having all those buffs up at once to get full power and full access to her kit. It's not a huge issue unless you're dealing with bosses that like to drop debuffs on the party frequently and you don't have anyone to protect against that. Or you bring someone who is very, very, very fast or likes to take a lot of free turns, such as a Vayne or a King or a Lightning or an Aranea. Her buffs are long enough that you probably won't burn through it too frequently, but you'll have to refresh much more frequently than you might like. And she also won't play nice with supports that like to throw up buffs often, like Penelo.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts. She's solid. She's good. Her ability to recharge Thunder Slash uses with her EX once it's realized is great. Her HP damage protection is almost on demand from what I've seen. I've never been in a situation where I know I'm getting an HP hit. Can I get this? Nope, I'm stuck. No, I was always able to pull it off when I needed it. Yeah. So those are my thoughts. She's solid.
Yeah, you did. Last week we didn't really talk about one of the downsides of Vayne is if you're using an ally that does generic buffs, he's going to run through them really quick. One of the downsides to Beatrix is she relies on everyone having buffs and having those 12 buffs active at all times for her abilities. So having characters that burn through them really quick can be a problem, or having enemies debuff you and push those generic buffs from Saint's Cloth off is also a problem, which is why she does pair well with debuff evaders like Iggy or Selphie or Lena. So as support characters, she does pair well with those, and I think she actually pairs really well with Iggy.
I'd be hesitant running her with Selphie because of the buff competition.
With the buffs, yeah. I have not used her with Selphie. I have used her with Iggy, and they do pair well together because he doesn't throw a lot of buffs on you.
There was a JP video, I think, that someone did Beatrix and Selphie together. Before I ever made an infographic, I posted how bad a team it was to have Kate, Sith, Beatrix, and Selphie.
Yes.
That Reddit post still has 0 upvotes and is like 13% positive. So yeah, I wouldn't use them together because the buff management is just too much of an issue. However, there will be other characters that I think are great that I'll talk about later.
Yeah. Mino?
My turn.
Yeah, sure.
I guess. I mean, I didn't 3-3 her, so I feel like in a less authoritative position here, but she just seems like a boring character to me, to be honest. A lot of these paladins are turning out to be.
You just went on and on about Paladin Cecil, who you said you could press any button.
Yeah, and I also said he was very boring. I said he was very strong, but very boring. Now Beatrix is very boring and not as strong, let's be honest. I mean, it's hard for me to shit on any character for a long, long time because I think we are reaching the point where any character is fine now and can work and can be carried through entropy. Even entropy's difficulty is starting to like level off. I mean, as we always said, chaos is the longest lasting difficulty plateau for a long time. There's going to be small spikes here and there, but nothing too significant. There'll be some HP increases and there'll be a handful of really hellish fights. But I mean, if you look back on main chord or the subreddit back to this time in JP, everyone thought every character was fucking amazing because no character was really needed. Everyone could make somebody work. And so every character was hyped as shit. Obviously, with limited ingots and limited resources, everyone was pulling differently, but every single character pulled, except for Caius, maybe, was like hyped to hell and back. And if you look at the videos too, the roster diversity and team diversity is getting really high up there. We're just reaching a plateau where it's really hard to say this character sucks. Because honestly, I think I talked to a lot of the JP players saying at this point you can pull anybody and invest in anybody and you'll make it through fine. There's no really big restrictions anymore. So it's hard for me to really shit on Beatrix or any character moving forward for the next couple months, but I can talk about my personal preferences. Beatrix is boring. She's not boring OP strong like Pestle is, where
I take some offense to that. I think they are very on level playing ground, Beatrix and Pestle, seeing as I actually have them both at purple.
That's fair. Yeah.
And good artifacts for both of them. Yeah, I think they are very level playing ground. They both do very similar kind of roles in terms of they're both third-party slot characters. They both do decent damage. They both do utility. They both have some auras and party support. So I think they're very, very level characters. I think to say Pestle is exceptionally stronger than Beatrix is way, way out of line. I don't feel that way at all.
That's fair. And like I said, I am in less of a position to say this because I didn't invest in her. I've only, as usual, used some friend units, played in the co-op, tried her out at base EX+, but I just wasn't interested in the playstyle, so I didn't feel the need to invest in her.
And the big difference is Pestle doesn't do anything besides what he does. And Beatrix does what she does, but she also has this very niche power that she can use, and when she can use it, and in fights that she can use that, what's it called? It used to be called
Holy Knight Safeguard.
Yeah, Holy Knight Safeguard, Paladin's Protection. Holy Knight's because she wasn't a Paladin. Holy Knight Safeguard. When she uses that, it's really clinch. And there are plenty of fights with big timed AoE HP attacks, plenty of fights with bosses that have the red glowing meter that you can pop that, you can hold on to that. And so, I mean, that's a very big deal for a character that, doesn't need to rely on that. I mean, it's just kind of the icing on the cake, right? Or as Mino would say, the cherry on the sundae. I mean, I think to say
that's a real saying. Look it up.
The cherry on top. I think they're very, comparable.
I mean, just to get it back really quick before I hand it over to Ink again. It's just that it's just not a playstyle that appeals to me. The only thing I hate more than debuffers, well, actually, there's a lot of things I hate more than debuffers, but something I hate more than debuffers are people who just ply fucking buffs on the party. I do not like the 3 buffs she gives and then the 4 buffs on herself. Shit gets pushed off bad. Like, I already don't like sometimes when Penelo pairs with other people who buff themselves like crazy, like Jack. I was running Penelo and Jack together. There's a shoving match between their buffs, and of course Penelo's buffs are superior, and you want those up. But with Beatrix, they're not always superior because she has some weird buffs on there and can really mess with other people's buffs. When you start getting parties now, it's really common for everyone to have 2 to 4 of their own framed buffs. So they're always fighting for the 2 generic slots or so. And I don't like that Beatrix does that and relies on that. So I just did not find her playstyle appealing. But Ink, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I mean, well, so I chose to purple Paladin Cecil over Beatrix. Instead of giving Beatrix anything but a book, I used my high crystals on Porum and got her Bloomstone. Because I feel like they serve similar niches in that they can protect the party. Yeah. But I think the thing that you're like getting at ultimately is the amount of setup cost that Beatrix has. She just requires you. She's not a third member. She's like your first member of your team, and then you have to put 2 people that are compatible with her.
Yes.
Whereas Paladin Cecil, you just throw him in any party. He has 3 framed buffs to himself. The worst that happens is that you give him 3 other framed buffs and give him debuff immunity, right? Like, I mean, he fits into teams very, very well. They fill similar roles, but Beatrix is a little bit more restricted in her party comps. Her buffs are, I mean, the defense buff is, I would say, like, watching Beatrix run versus Paladin Cecil, her defense is higher. So if you're using her for that, that's awesome. If you have like Kryl or you have Shantoto and you're imperiling lightning, thunder, whatever, then I think it's good. Like if you have a team to build around her. But yeah, I didn't have a team, and I would rather purple someone that I would actually use and could slot on multiple different teams, which I think is more valuable for like entropy and such. But I do think Beatrix is really powerful. It's just higher setup cost, which is a big deal. Oh, and her skill 1 is still bugged. So they need to fix that. If she uses Saint Cloth, it's the same as Terra, right? If you open a crystal, the crystal cycle, and you use Terra's Meltdown, she breaks all the targets and then she delays herself.
Yeah.
Beatrix does the exact same thing on Saint Cloth. You go and you break a target, she will put herself back 2 or 3 turns back in the turn order, letting other people get 2 turns that just aren't even fast characters. So I know that there's a bug that has to do with, like, there's a bug just in terms of how the turns are displayed. And I don't even think it's that. She just actively delays herself, and it happens consistently with Shiva. I'll complain more about Shiva later. But yeah, they need to fix her bug.
Yeah, Ink said exactly what I was saying. Like, I don't think that her and Pestle are comparable as a 3rd slot character. Pestle slot anywhere, just like Ishtola and Rosa. He doesn't take up other people's buff slots. He's purely aura on himself, and all of his important buffs are framed, so you just throw anything on him. He works well with, like, Penelo. Beatrix isn't just plug and play because of her stupid amount of buffs. And with Penelo, if you play Penelo with Beatrix, she's either getting the regens or the attack and the max brave. Not both, like most other people. Not like the majority, like Pestle. I hate Beatrix. I hate characters that just ply buffs and buffs and buffs on top of each other when there also exist characters that have loaded all of those buffs loaded into one, and it's an aura. Like, I do not like that design about Beatrix, and how buff reliant she is. 12 fucking buffs on the party. Get that shit out of here. Okay, but I digress.
No, but yeah, there's a. Go ahead.
I can't wait for Mino covering Saz or Waka. I cannot wait. It's gonna be great.
Right. But yeah, no, I mean, I think there's a difference between a plug and play. I think obviously Pestle is much more plug and play, although you have to be aware of his holy and all that kind of issues, much more than Beatrix. But they both do serve that third party role. They're not true damage per turn. They're not true supports. They kind of fit in that utility slot. That's the kind of the lexicon that I was using. But yeah, 100%. You have to build. You can't just throw Beatrix on any team. I mean, you can, but to optimize her, you want to have people that are going to take advantage of her buffs, not throw off buffs, not burn through them, etc. And you have to manage those 12 buffs, which is really hard
I feel
for
like
Mino.
Ignis is her best friend.
Iggy is great. Yeah, her and Iggy pair really, really well together. The two of them and a strong either a strong DPS or another good kind of utility character pair really well together. So yeah, definitely. But yeah, I was using the two of them fairly well. Yeah, I was trying to have I want to try to create the Royal Retainer team, and so Iggy and Beatrix kind of serve that really well, but trying to find a good third option for that. We don't have a lot of in-game Royal Retainers who are good DPSs right now. So
I think we've talked enough about Beatrix. It might be time to move along.
Nope. Going to keep talking about her. So yeah, there's also somebody else who we probably shouldn't talk about too much on this banner, and his name is Steiner, and he gets an EX weapon that looks like a toy. So Kriese, why don't you talk about Steiner?
Steiner gets a lot of changes with this. I mean, he's probably the most rework character we're going to talk about today because the others are lighter reworks total, and that's partially because Steiner's original 65 or 60 rework wasn't particularly amazing. You kind of see the hints on where they were going from that original 60 rework towards the 70 rework, but it's a huge change. So Steiner's kit's always been about exploiting humanoid targets, but that doesn't make sense anymore because humanoid targets are so infrequent. So they've made his new gimmick being about him self-batterying himself based on party max brave. So all of his abilities now give him brave based on the party's max brave before he does any brave hits, and he will even extend that party or that battery to the party in a couple cases. So Power Break and Spellblade both now have a new unique frame buff associated with them called Own Chivalry, which gives Steiner attack, max brave, and speed, things he really did need, to be honest. Basically, it's a frame buff that brings his stats up to par for what you would expect from this era, and also gives him something to hinge his Brave Plus and HP Plus activators on. Power Break hits a little harder, it has a couple more Brave hits, and it gains the Brave gain based on party max Brave before any of the Brave hits. The big thing that happens is that his attack down gets stronger. It's now a 70% attack down, which I think ties it with the strongest attack down in the game, which is tied to Vincent right now. So he's a pretty solid character if you need to cripple an enemy. Spellblade now has a plus variant. In its base form, it gains multiple brave hits. It will always deal an HP attack. It deals splash damage to non-primary targets. In its plus form, the brave gain based on party max brave becomes party-wide instead of just targeting himself. His brave plus and HP plus gain more brave hits, and also gain the brave gain mechanic based on party max brave. So keep that in mind. His EX ability is brand new. It's his only AoE Brave Shave in his whole kit. It's Stock Break. It will do only a single target HP hit, but it has splash damage associated with it, so he still does some AoE damage in that. He also gains a new unique buff called Captain of the Knights of Pluto, which is a party max Brave aura, and also a self-attack up. He also has his own generic buffs for defense and Brave regen. His additional ability is a party max Brave boost, which gets has a longer duration and stronger if you bloom in Crystal 70 him. If you fully realize his weapon, his Brave gain on Stock Break becomes party-wide. He gets access to a Brave plus plus and an HP plus plus, which are just stronger versions. Still do the same basic things. He gets a huge increase in Brave to help with his generic Brave regen he gives himself. And his HP attack becomes full HP damage to the to the whole enemy group if you fully realize his weapon. And he gets a stronger party battery. In general, he's kind of in this weird mix where he's offensively oriented, but kind of benefits from party stats. And he's unique in the way that he benefits from party brave. He's, aside from Charlotta, who benefits from party current brave, he benefits mostly from max brave stats, which has been kind of downplayed in this era because attack's so much more important with high defense stats. But it's something to keep in mind. And Steiner's built around that. He has a huge max brave party aura if you have his EX buff up, plus his passives equipped. And he's just a solid character who can apply a attack down and increase party's max brave stat, and also avoid some attack diminishing effects such as high defenses by battering himself based on the party's brave. I think he's a solid character. I didn't pull for him because I already had Beatrix and Vanille on this banner, and he's solid. I think that's the best I could say about him, is that I don't have enough personal experience to say anything beyond that. He seems like he's a solid character, but I can't say beyond that how well he'll work in practice.
He does damage. That's about it. Anybody else have experience with Steiner?
I mean, niche characters will always have their niche. New players can pull. Oh, there's always going to be some human fights here and there. The story chapters always have decently difficult human fights if you're so inclined. If you're a newer player, use him on entropy tier 5. There are fights he excels at. He does really good splash damage, I guess. And I like the gimmick. I like the attempt that his stuff scales off of party total stats. I wish they did more of that. That would lead to some really interesting team building. Like if somebody's damage relied on total party attack, or if someone's regen relied on total party int brave. I remember there's other characters later, or at least one other character that scales off of party total HP, which is but I wish they did more with it. I like the attempt. It's just the sum of all parts isn't that great. Again, workable.
And again, I will also point out that while he does have a very strong attack buff, or attack down debuff, it's tied to an ability with only 6 uses, and it's a short duration. It's only 3 turns per use. So it's not something you can reliably have up in very long fights. In shorter fights, yeah, he can maintain it pretty well, but if you get to a very long fight, probably it's going to fall off and you'll have to time it more carefully.
Levantine, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub. Appreciate that.
If you need melee AoE, he's pretty damn good at it, better than Squall is, and Squall was a while ago. I still use Squall on my farming runs because of that 100% AoE Renzo, but Steiner should do a better job.
Oh yeah, his potencies are much more in line with Chaos Era than Squall's are.
Yeah, and much more overflow as well, and the increase. Yeah, like his kit is pretty decent. It's just not needed, but like I said, if that floats your boat, AoE, physical, lots of splash damage, go for it.
And I will echo Mino what he said a little earlier, in that Steiner, there's no bad characters right now coming out, which is a blessing for Steiner. He's not amazing, but he is still good, and he will still work if you want him to work.
Ink, do you have anything to add?
Seems like the kind of character that, like Masalento, right, is gonna bring him to a lot of levels. And I feel like if you want to use him and you build a good team around him, he will do work for you. Especially if you use people that, like if you use defense debuggers and attack debuffers, I think you're gonna be good. There's a reason why Vanille was synergy on this, is because she pairs really well with both of them. But yeah, I feel like he's completely reasonable. He's not broken. I would basically say that he's average. That's it. So if you want to use him in Chaos, you can use him in Chaos. But if you want to raffle stomp something in Chaos, then no, you're probably not going to raffle stomp unless you like the most latest purples that are available. So I think he's solid.
Well, going to the podcast polls for this banner, which was Beatrix and Steiner with their EX weapons, and Vanille with her 15 and 35 CP. 4 people willing to pity, 4 people willing to gem, 26 willing to use tickets, so quite a few, and 23 skipping. Even considering we already had Beatrix before, and she was the prize, a lot of people did not play or have started since then and wanted to pull on the banner. Of those who got Beatrix, 3 going to keep it just on EX, 17 just realizing, 1 investing 1 ingot, 1 investing 2 ingots, and 34 fully realizing her because they're right. And on the other hand, Steiner, the few people who got him, 12 keeping it just EX, 17 just realizing, 1 using 1 using 2, and only 3 fully realizing him. Make sure always you can jump on our Discord. Find that at tccpodcast.com or in the show notes. And tell us what you're doing on the podcast polls. And we thank Quetz for setting up those and Kriese for setting up those podcast polls using MaterialBot, Quetz's design. Yes. So, yes. Well, sometimes Kriese helps put those up for us. But yes, Quetz, the designer of MaterialBot, uses MaterialBot to help get those polls off the ground. So thank you very much to Quetz. We do have a chaos battle with this as well. It saw 2 Merilith Glorias. And these are bosses we fought in the old day with the original run of the Beatrix event. And they're a little annoying, but not too bad. Lots of stacked attacks. They are weak to lightning, which is nice. But they can do lots of, like any Merilith, lots of increasing damage. So anybody wanted to walk through or talk about this fight before I bring up the call to arms in the TCC Challenge?
I guess I'll touch on it briefly. I honestly brought full synergy to this, so I did not see the challenge personally, but I saw how it would be a pain in the butt if you did not have, for example, Beatrix and or Vanille in the party. The basic idea is that instead of having just one copy of the Merilith boss, you actually have 2 in the Chaos event. Both of them have a recast ability, so you can see a bar just like you can with the ultimate summon fights, where they'll use a big attack at the end of it. Big things along with that, they have a very high attack stat, especially when their health gets very low, which you need to either deal with in order to avoid the brave shaves and breaks and the huge amount of brave they can generate very rapidly, or you just need to build up your defenses so you don't have to worry about that, which is what I did between Beatrix and Vanille. Other things that I think they have, do they have the HP poison effect? Am I remembering that, or is it a different fight that has that?
Oh, we've had a couple fights.
I know the
with
Phoenix
those.
has it.
Yeah, Phoenix has that. There was another fight we had with that. I don't see that as one of their powers. Oh, yep. I
do recall they applied a number of debuffs that I had to deal with. In general,
life hacks. Yep.
It is life hacks. They do have it. Okay, so you have to deal with the HP drain. You're going to need some healing to deal with that, or debuff evasion. They do a decent amount of HP damage, though it's usually very predictable. If they're brave, shaved, and broken normally, you don't have to worry about too much damage coming out, but the big issue is that their attacks can get very high, and they can do a lot of damage very quickly if you let them. The Merilith enemies can do a lot of brave attacks in a single turn, and that can catch you off guard if you're not ready for it.
Yeah. Well, looking at Magnol's Call to Arms, MACNOL, you can tell we are in late Chaos era, and as Mino and Ink and Kriese have already said multiple times, that, pretty much anybody's useful at this point in the game, in the Chaos realizable characters. Total videos submitted were 90 videos, unique characters used among those 53. So 53 different characters used over 90 videos really tells you what's going on. Preman, again, who is a person I'm not real familiar with, did a 0 ingot run with Charlotta, Vayne, just realized, and Penelo just realized EXs. No ingot investment. Belial did a 1 or no, not Belial, Aodin did a Leon, Vayne, Yuri, but 1 ingot on Yuri run with that. The TCC Challenge, a little bit more lax this time, with just banning Aranea, friend Aranea, Beatrix, Steiner, Vanille, Vayne, and Zach. Lots of people. I'm just going to read all their names, and I'll highlight the low ingot ones. If anybody else wants to highlight any runs, feel free. Jealous, Harrieth, Dreamy Ultima, Excalibur, Lifrogue, Inkwelder, Weird, West Warren, Defo, GLSO, Zero Production, Lizette, Aodin, Phoenix, Heartnets 13. It's a new person. Congratulations. Sly Lemmy, always shout out new people. Emperor Warrior of Light, Pinello. So good job. Slide, Big Al, Lizette, I may have already mentioned. Yoshi Pasta, Infamous Element, who's on chat with us. Congratulations. Good job. Did it with Edge, Ico, and 8. Good run. Boy Kazith, our good friend, is there with Leon, Yuri, and Pestle, only 6 ingots. And then Belial with a Realm, Lael, Pinello, only 3 ingot investment, just with Lael, and then Preman with Charlotta, 8 Pinello, and just ingots used on 8. So only 3 ingots invested. So wow, good job. Very creative runs. Those folks. Anybody else wanted to bring up some strategies or tips or tricks on this one, or other runs they saw that were interesting? Ink or Mino?
I'm good.
All right. Well,
I'm just glad to see Belial running Realm in like every chaos. It is fantastic to watch and really makes me want to token Lyle. So
yeah, I
well
have been
Belial.
appreciating Belial's low ingot investment runs, and this Preman, who may just be an alternate account for Belial, I don't know, because this is a name I've not come up before. So check them out. But go on the Call to Arms. Check out all these people. They've got YouTube videos up there. Watch them, like them, subscribe to them. Give them some encouragement. Thank them for making these videos and sharing it with our community. It's so helpful. And of course, shout out to our friend Macnol, MACNOL, and all the work he does compiling all of that crap. Well, that does bring us to yet another event that we have to talk about. The show may go a little long tonight. And that brought us...
Might go a little long.
Yeah, that did bring us some new characters as well. So back in Japan, they got the Cave of the Phoenix event, which there was a lot of weeping and gnashing and teeth around. It was very similar to our Abyss, and as if you've played it already, it is very similar to our Abyss. Now, it is called Burrow of the Phoenix, and it is Abyss-like, and there is a normal version and a hard version. In the normal version, you have to bring... so characters are not locked out like in our Abyss. Certain things are locked out. In this event, you have to bring characters of certain crystal colors to advance. In the normal mode, it's just one. You just need to have one character of one crystal color per kind of attack, and then it locks that in to get it perfect. In the hard mode, you have to have 2 different characters of different colors represented in each of your runs. But it does not lock characters out. So please realize you can reuse characters in this event, unlike Heretic events, even though it uses that kind of perfect mode. But there were 2 banners with this. We got free pulls on both of them. We were expecting back in the Japanese era of the game, Selphie got her rework at this time, and Noctis got his rework and realization at this time. So we assumed that we would get both of them, although we got Noctis early with the Aranea event, which means we were either going to get Noctis again or a different character. And would you know, we happened to get a different character. Yes, no Noctis rework, just his realization. But that was when it came originally. We got Dark Knight Cecil's EX realization several months early on this banner. So the one banner is Selphie and Dark Knight Cecil. Their EXs are on that banner. Actually, they're both 3 EX banners. So each banner has 3 EXs. The first one is Dark Knight Cecil, Selphie, and Lise. The second one is Barrett, Rosa, and Agrius. So they are all EXs on that banner, which is nice. So we have some additional characters to talk about, starting with Selphie, and our guest, Inkwelder, is going to talk about what Selphie gets.
Awesome. Thank you for letting me talk about Selphie, because I love Selphie. So, all right. She thankfully has such an easy rework. They bumped her party aura to 40%. They upped the amount of Brave that she gains when she uses Drain. They gave her a Brave Plus now that batteries the party by 20%. That's the same as 20% of max Brave. That's the same as Kate Sith. And then they extended the duration of Wall's buffs to 8 turns, which is actually great because previously you'd get locked into a rotation. Shout out to Slide, who's used Selphie in 11 Chaoses so far. And you'd get stuck in a rotation with her, which is fine. She still was doing Chaoses under that rotation. But you often felt forced to do something because you'd lose all your buffs. And so that's sort of gone now. With her realization, her aura skill at 0-3 gets overflow in terms of the party battery that it grants. 1 of 3, she gets 80% attack up. Everyone gets really upset about her 80% attack because they want it swapped with Steiner's, because Steiner got huge buff, I think 80% eye brave. And that would obviously be great on Selphie. Here's the thing. Selphie is already great. She doesn't need more eye brave.
I'll also point out that Steiner got a huge boost to his attack from his unique buffs that he got from both EX and his skills with his rework. So he didn't need a huge attack boost beyond that.
Yeah, that's very true. And so 1-3 will also let you start with the aura buff on the party. That's what speeds up the EX recast. So that's obviously nice because your EXs up front charge the slowest. And so just getting them to charge a little bit faster early on in battle is great. A lot of characters often spam skills just to get your EX recharged and get your buffs up. At 2-3, she heals on aura, the skill. So that's obviously great. It makes her less dependent on Drain. And then at 3-3, if you bring her there, it gives you her HP++, and it gives a 20% overflow on the aura buff to both battery and soul and brave. So those are 2 different things. And so whether it is that's why Selphie is sort of interesting in that I think Aerith has this also, but they're separate, is that supports benefit from her and attackers benefit from her because they all get overflow. But her HP++ just has a brave gain which can overflow into an HP attack, and it batteries the party by 20% of the damage, which is great. So Selphie's niche, obviously, is the fact that she can raise the recast rate by 20%. And everyone is always asking, like, what's the 20%? And I can't necessarily tell you, except that it's not that you replace a skill with an HP attack. That's probably not comparable. It might be more like a skill with 2 HP attacks, but into actual information, there was a great thread that was started by Kaimanakai on Reddit. So we've been collecting that and then trying to collect some others. So I'm just going to point out some interesting characters, because this is where Selphie is a lot different than Beatrix, right? Beatrix provides the party a lot of protection. She also grants a lot of buffs. Selphie has 3 party buffs too. The thing that's different is that Selphie completely changes the gameplay of her allies, certain allies, not all allies. Certain allies get so many benefits from that EX recast up that they are noticeably better. And so that's where it is, where Selphie sort of stands, and no other character has recast up. No one gives it. So first thing is never ever run Shiva with Selphie. Shiva charges your EX slower because it ups your party speed. Speed does not increase your EX charge rate. High turn rate is fine. but speed is actively bad for your EX charge. And so using Shiva with Selphie is basically negating the benefit that she's providing. Probably not fully, but it's negating it a bit. But just looking at some of the powerful characters that work really, really well with her, Papa Limo is a very solid EX into whether you want to use a skill or use foul, it doesn't matter. Then you get a free skill. That's it. You don't need HP plus with him. So he literally goes EX into his chain, use a skill, EX is back up. Same thing with Onion Knight. Onion Knight becomes a monster because any ability he uses, and he already has a really high turn rate, right? So often you use a skill with him and he's already, it's his turn again. And he is very solid at EX, skill, EX consistently. You never need to HP plus with him. Zach is, sometimes you have to HP plus with him. But generally, it's a skill in between his EX casts, and that's ridiculously strong. Just note that. So first off, it's great because they fixed Zach's Eye Brave Shield niche, so they actually work fine together. They do push off one buff, so you have to be aware if you've used Rush Assault, and then you've used Chain Slash, and then you use Wall. Specifically, that order where you've used Rush Assault last. Then it will push off the Max Brave buff, and you have to use Rush Assault again to get it back on Zach, and that's obviously great because it's 100%. Terra, if you use it, they also have buff overlap, but Terra saves a skill use. Setzer can just use 2 Brave attacks, and he is back up and ready. Locke goes EX, skill, EX. There's King needs 2 skills. He normally needs 3. So if you're using King, and obviously King is one of the characters that probably benefits greatly from Selphie because he has Eye Brave region. She buffs it 100%, 140% with her aura. And so he's getting a huge amount of region on his turns, which is excellent. And he's saving free skills as though King needed more longevity. Well, Selphie at least provides it. Characters like Golbez and Sephiroth both have free turns after their free abilities after their EX gets used. And so speeding them up is great. Golbez is about it. He is usually that you need to use his free skill, sometimes his HP plus, and then his EX is back up. So that is pretty excellent. I haven't tested Sephiroth, but you should just watch Jin Lee's showcase on Selphie, his analysis video that he ran with Sephiroth and Selphie. Sephiroth was regenning 44,000 Brave every turn, and that is completely created by Selphie. So those are definitely all the good things. I will note one thing. There's a lot of people that hype her for, they're great with, let's say, Leo. I haven't tried this, obviously. Leo's not out yet. If you have to remove speed passives to let someone recharge their EX faster, that's fine, but you have to make sure that the rest of your party can compensate for the weaknesses of the party. So if you start slowing down all your characters, Selphie is a terrible, terrible Brave Shaver. So if you're slowing down your best Brave Shaver so that their EX comes up faster and you're against a fast boss, that's not going to work so well. You'd rather be able to use an HP plus to help shave that boss than not. And the other one that I forgot is Lon and Rain. Basically go EX, skill, EX2. And they benefit from her overflow that she grants to the party. So the twins become even further monsters with that overflow. So those are all the great things about Selphie. She's a great healer. She's a great battery. She batteries on everything. She does all the supports that you need. The downsides is her party buffs, obviously, that you have to play around. You have to strategize around it. I don't really think that if you start overlapping all your buffs, you are likely you may feel more obligated with Selphie to use skills when her aura buff is on them, because you're like, ooh, I really want my EX to come up next turn, so I'm going to use a skill here even though my max brave is topped off. And so you may end up burning through skills faster potentially, but that's probably your own fault for just wanting the EX to come up. So be wary. Don't be afraid to wall with your max brave topped off. You'd rather make sure that the wall buff is up and make sure that your party has those buffs, the eye brave buff especially, and the debuff evasion bug. Yeah, Selphie just is a very, very complete package as a support outside of shaving. That's probably where Pinello having her EX is nice, as she shaves. But yeah, I love Selphie. I instantly purpled her. I think that she does things that no other support in the game can do, and I love mechanics like that. Do you all have any thoughts on Selphie?
Yeah, I want to shout out to Rez for hosting us. Thank you. Check out Resfoina on Twitch and YouTube. She's a fellow content creator. Jin Lee did a nice video on YouTube. You can check out Defo Jin Lee and about how to play Selphie. So yeah, that's going in there. Selphie's great. I have not purpled her yet. She is booked. I'm awaiting the time I might need her. That time has not come yet, but trying to be a little bit more conservative on my investments with the books and, well, not the books, but the ingots. But yeah, I like everything she does, and liked her back in the 35 era. So I'm glad I got her EX and happy to use it. So.
And one thing I did forget to mention before I give it to the others is that I'd probably either 0-3 her or 3-3 her.
Right.
I would not leave her in the middle. I think that's a total waste of ingots. Either make her purple and make her shine, or keep her at 0-3 and you will still enjoy using her.
Yeah. And she really doesn't.
Don't go halvesies.
Although you might not feel this way, she really doesn't pair well with the fast characters or the free turn characters like Ultimecia, Vayne, maybe even Aranea. Is that correct, or am I off base on that?
So it's just that they don't benefit enough. They don't benefit as much, right? Yeah. If you're speeding up Vayne every, let's say, 1 out of every 3 cycles that he has, right? Selphie is still providing a lot of buffs, or as she's filling out the team comp so that you could basically put anyone in the 3rd slot and benefit. So while Vayne doesn't get a ton of benefits from her, he still gets some benefits. And if you play them right, I would say you're still going to get a really nice, interesting benefit from it. It's just you probably have to pay more attention. I mean, I did use them together, and I did use Vayne's skills more aggressively, and his EX came up real fast, and then Aura fell off. And the thing is Aura comes up, you just weave in a skill at any point while she has Aura up, and it'll come back up. So you could use like an HP, use a skill, and then her EX is back up right after that, I think. So it's very fast to come. So it's not like it's hard for her to give Vayne or Aranea. I'm sure she's actually pretty busted with Aranea. I haven't tried it, but
no, I haven't either. So that's why I was asking. Yeah. Kriese, Mino, what do you think about Selphie? Do you have Selphie? Have you used her?
I slept on Selphie the first time her EX came. I totally wrote her off as unnecessary. I regretted it ever since. Holy shit, is Aura awesome. Even before the EX Plus, people are doing some crazy, crazy stuff with it. And she was one of the most used non-EX Plus characters in early Chaos. She's very strong, so I told myself the second time around I'm not going to miss out on her. That being said, apparently I didn't care enough to throw gems at it, but I think Selphie's amazing. I think she's really, really good. I think these 2 banners for this event are insanely solid. This is probably a good time to start DFFOO. If you're new, this is your first week, throw all your gems into these 2 banners. Very, very strong characters all across the board. I was going to talk about some Selphie shenanigans too, but Ink more than covered like many individual characters, so I'll skip on that. Basically, faster EX recast increases everybody's longevity. It fills in gaps. Some people have big buffs on their EXs that inevitably fall off, like Jekt and Yuri, who can have that shored up. You got your auras. You even have, I think it's 60% debuff dodge. I don't know. She's just amazing overall.
70.
70, yeah.
Feels like 10. It's
Well,
70, but it feels like 10.
70 is the same as Warrior of Light. So, however you guys feel about him dodging debuffs, nothing to rely on, but it's a nice bonus. And people have made EX this Selphie work on tier 6, which is a Malboro fight. So, I mean, she's amazing. I can't gush enough about Aura, but again, Ink covered it by far. I would 3-3 her instantly if I didn't have a strict regimented plan that I'm sticking to, but I advise everyone else to do. Actually, you know what? I think I'll put Selphie into my plans. I think I'll throw Aerith out and replace her with Selphie.
We got so many extra ingots this,
I think I'm sitting on 14 ingots and 12 books right now.
Yeah, we got all kinds of extra stuff from Dimensions End now and this Phoenix Burrow, and yeah, we got plenty of stuff.
Plus, I actually there is a team comp I want to see if I can run as long as possible, like Ink does with Sabin. I want to try Selphie, Penelo, and King. I tried that already on the Phoenix with a 0-3 Selphie. It is fun. Holy crap! What's the fastest turn people have beat it? I guess I'll wait for the C2A. But with that team, and I think I'll work on it more. I got sub 70 turns, which I thought was really, really good. I don't know. Just having King do 100% of the breaking with full, buffs and everything. I love King. I'm really glad I pulled for King. I think I was salty because he was an unplanned pity. I pitied that asshole, and he was totally not on my plans, but he's like my favorite character to play now.
I don't see a podcast poll except for those willing to invest in Selphie, so I'll share that. 6 willing to just keep her at EX, 12 going to realize her, 10 going to use 1 ingot, 2 going to use 2, and 23 going to fully realize her. So let's briefly talk about this event. We still have...
Sylvan talked about Paladin Cecil.
Oh, crap. Yeah, there's another character we should probably talk about first. So,
Kriese, briefly, did you have anything to say about Selphie?
I'll just mention that I've kind of slept on Selphie because I actually pulled her EX back during her last chapter, and I was honestly unimpressed with her kit overall. I thought Aura was cool, which is the reason I pulled for it. But her original base kit did not hold up in the Cosmos era as well as I'd hoped. I'm just also not a very great player, so I couldn't work around it, so I just immediately benched her and said I'll work with other supports so I can work around better. She's a very solid character. She brings something very unique to the table, but I also hate that 70% debuff evasion. It always feels like 10% for me.
Okay, yeah, so let's move on to Decil. Decil, I don't think it'll be as lengthy because we didn't do... But I mean, okay, so he didn't get a rework or anything. It's just the EX plus, but the EX plus really rounds out his rough edges, in my opinion. It makes him a little closer to Pestle because he starts having. Let me just go over the bare details really quick. Besides the main stat boosts and increased potencies and hit numbers, his EX Dark Cannon is now a double Brave plus HP dump, which is very, very good. Adds Splash, and he starts with all of his important buffs, especially Power of Darkness and Light Within Darkness, his 2 uniques, which gets him going right off the bat, which makes a huge, huge deal. But the biggest changes are the new Brave pluses and HP pluses he gets, which above 50% HP, they drain his HP, and then below they heal him. So they didn't do that before, right? Not the pluses, the double pluses.
The way they worked before is to activate the pluses, you needed to use an ability under 50% max HP.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then you'd get HP healing, but it would also burn the buff.
Right. So they gave him more tools to kind of regulate his HP, both above and below 50%. Which I think is great. The other thing is he gets a Dark Imperil as well. Again, I consider this more of a personal buff than any party utility, because as we said when Golbez came around, there are very, very few people who can take advantage of it. And the ones who already can already give their own imperil. So I mean, you're looking at Golbez and half of Shantoto, I think. I don't think there's any other significant dark damage dealers out there right now, but that's fine. I compare him to Pestle because I feel like he can now cruise on his HP whatever. I'll just say HP plus for a significant amount of time. Great splash. His EX splashes as well, just like Pestle's. It's just that instead of being more of a Pestle's there to sit there, look pretty, buff, have passively heal, Decil is more focused on single target damage for sure. It's just that I think he's insanely strong. I just don't know how effective he'll be for different players. I've been trying to weigh his pros and cons since his release yesterday, and it just really 100% depends on playstyle and if you're willing to build around him, I think. I mean, we have screenshots on our Discord server. Somebody, Purple Decil, immediately said he sucked, and then Black Cloud stepped in and said, here, try again. And then, an hour and a half later, he's like, actually, Decil's really amazing. So I think it takes some practice to get a hold of him and not instantly. But so these are going to be controversial statements. I think Decil has the most on-demand launch in the game, right? Can anyone argue that? Like the most on-demand whenever you want it. He has.
I'd say Lael's probably most on-demand with his EX being so fast, with Tifa quickly behind with her faster EX.
Those aren't on-demand though, right? Because Tifa, you got to charge up the EX, and Lael, you still sort of have to work around the points. It's not like every time you press skill 2, you're getting a launch.
Okay, Cecil has 5 launches base, and then he has to recharge that to get more. So if you burn through those 5 immediately, he has to wait on a very slow recast to get any more. So technically, he's more on demand if you conserve them. If you just spam them as much as possible, Lael's more in demand.
People are saying Cloud only has the 4, and it's 4. Done, I believe.
Yep.
And plus, Decil has a huge battery on his.
Yeah, Dark Knight Cecil is much better than Cloud.
I'd say Dark Knight Cecil definitely is the best launch out of the bunch, but I don't think his is as much on demand as Tifa's or Lael's.
Lael can do a lot more launches over the course of a fight.
Right. Yeah.
Square Enix Joshua says he's a great auto farmer, so because he starts with that HP plus with splash damage. So
right, just like Pestle too, right?
If you're looking for
Pestle too.
5 DPZ saying his EX recharges faster than I'm giving it credit for too. So maybe I'm just not familiar enough with it now.
Yeah, I thought it was a fairly slow charging EX, but I haven't played with him. I don't have his EX.
It's always been relative to the character's speed. Decil is an insanely slow character.
Yeah.
And so even though it says on paper it's like a slower recharge, it actually charges pretty fast. We've had other characters like that too, right? Like Cloud is, I think, a normal or a slightly fast, and it's up every other
Cloud
ability.
is normal base recast, but he's usually every other turn after the initial use. Yeah.
Right, because he's just not a fast character. And that is Decil's downside. Out of all the launchers, he's probably the slowest launcher, which means it's really hard to get him into position. Lael is slightly faster, and he has delays. Tifa is very fast. I'd say you're looking at about the same as Cloud, roughly. Like with Cloud, I can't launch mindlessly. Sometimes I have to purposely manipulate turns for it to work out. And
5 DPZ's clarifying too, it is a very slow recast, but the fact that you get 2 free skill uses because he recharges both of his skills, it means that it charges a lot faster than you would expect. Because you're basically burning the recharge skills and then you're back to the EX. So you can go
He's exactly the same as Yuri. He and Yuri are exactly the same. They both recharge skills, and they both take 3 skill uses.
Okay.
Right.
That's a good comparison.
And then, so I mean, Decil's a very interesting character. 3 months early is very early. First of all, I just want to say I'm excited that Square Enix has brought back Time Travelers. I think Time Travelers really shake things up. We haven't had something like that in a while. So, we had Noctis, but he was garbage even though he moved forward. He got moved forward 3 months too, but nobody cared.
He was on a banner with RNA. That didn't help, right?
I know, so you would think...
Noctis. I pitied Noctis on his last chapter, so I wasn't pulling for Noctis.
Poor Noctis.
Right. The point is nobody cared about Noctis, but Decil is someone worth looking at. He was strong when he came out. 3 months from now, we are getting insane power creep. That is past the June, July in JP last year when all the good characters are coming out. Decil was still very competitive, and so he is worth looking at here. It's just that I believe he's a little more difficult to use. He's fun. I remember when he first got his 70 realization and his rework, I actually used him a bunch, and I had a blast with him. It's
and
just
I'll remind people to look back at those episodes. We actually did talk a lot about Dark Knight Cecil then. He works very well in certain team compositions. If you build around him, he's not a character that can solve everything, but if you build around him, he works really, really well.
Yeah, and I was going to touch on that and what Josh is saying in chat, which is basically building around him is tricky. He's 1000% not plug and play, especially since a lot of the meta DPS do not work well with him. I do not think he works great with Penelo. I think Penelo really kills his momentum, and Penelo is a very, very popular support right now. I think some people will vouch for Y'shtola with him. I do not like Y'shtola with him. Anything that can instantly pop him back out of his sweet spot of being under 50% HP is too much, especially the way Penelo regens. You can't even control that. At least with Y'shtola EX or Rem cures, you can kind of dictate when that happens, but it's still a bit too much. I don't like it. I guess you could AA manipulate it, but certain low level healers, like I think Selphie can work okay with him. I think Rosa can work good with him. We're getting other characters that can heal but don't spam heals. Like
let me just stop for a second and thank Anthony for the 5 tier 1 subs, and thank him if you got a sub gifted to you. Thank you for that. And I also have Kriese gave Squex Joshua a sub, so thank you, Kriese, for keeping Joshua
as long as I'm
sub
eating
to us.
Joshua's getting
and Deanzogane Z, thank you for the Twitch Prime, and Hey13 Aria's Music, thank you for the bits. Thank you all for all of your support. I appreciate it in this long stream. So yeah, thank you. I apologize. Continue. Dark Knight Cecil, he's a guy, but potency wise, he's pretty powerful, right? I mean, he's doing decent damage.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Of course. No, not only is his potency good, but his overflow and max grade are pretty astounding. Yeah. Like his EX is actually insanely powerful. 250% overflow with splash as well. He does a ton of damage. He just needs some.
He does it twice too.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. And as Josh was saying, I was gonna say the 20% last stand can be used to great effect. When he got that rework, I loved. I basically never worried about Decil. I did not give a damn if he was targeted. Like Brave plus HP, AOE HP, who cares? He will survive it. He has the ability to heal himself back up, or if not, just throw a light regen on him. And 20% is not hard to hit, since most regen, even Aiko's like regen is what 10% HP or something. So he is a really good character, and I'm excited for him because he's interesting to play too. So I'm sure that within these next 3 months, we're going to be seeing a lot of Decil shenanigans since we got him so early. Like we'll see a lot of videos that JP players couldn't field out because they didn't have Decil yet. Plus,
I was saying that if he drops under that HP threshold, you just Brave plus or HP plus, and he's back at that HP threshold, and he can't be killed.
Yeah,
also,
he has his own
Redbeard Light is pointing out that if you have Renoa's Sphere for some reason, like Mark does,
I do,
then you can throw it on Dark Knight Cecil, and he will take huge advantage of it because he will never be over 80% HP.
Have I used it? That's the real question.
And I want to point out that if you look at all the summon board passives from here to the future, someone under 80% HP, under 50% HP gets a lot more stat boosts than someone above 80% HP. Like a lot of these summons seem to be built around Decil. Like look at Pandemonium and its bonuses, or who else is low HP? I think was it Leviathan, one of them, and then several coming up in the future. But Decil is just, I'm excited for the shenanigans. He enables a lot of crazy plays. I think he's a fun character. Unfortunately, I just don't have the ingots.
Look, if I was not going for meme characters like Gilgamesh, I'd probably 3-3 him, but I am. So I have to make my priorities straight here. Gilgamesh is more important for me than Cecil.
Mafaria, thank you for the bits. And yeah, I mean, it's changed my I mean, I was basically just going to throw my EX tokens down the toilet, so it's given me something to actually invest in them. That's somewhat worth it. And yeah, I probably will put ingots in it. Obviously, Cecil is a favorite character of mine. Paladin Cecil is my preference, which is why he's 3/3. But I'm interested to see what he can bring to the team and to use him even just realized. And play around with that. But Ink, did you have any insights on this? I know you guys did a lot of work on the infographics, and always check out the infographics. Let me share the beautiful infographic for Dark Knight Cecil here in chat if you haven't checked it out.
That one burned us out.
Yeah, that was...
What was that?
A comment.
Yeah.
Someone made a comment on Reddit, like, how do you guys do this so fast? Like, you have all of these prepared to burst, and it's like, no, we stayed up really, really late and then woke up really early because we had a feeling that there were plenty of rumors that were going around, but even still, like, I had been collecting his data for over a month along with Cyan, like Fujin and other people that could time shift. But oh my god, we don't even have Leo done. I mean, come on. Yeah, this one took a lot out of us because he has 4 variants of Brave and HP attacks, and so fitting that on the graphic on one side was pretty tricky. But just in general, I think people are totally sleeping on him. I think he's great. He is not as powerful as Aranea, but that doesn't say much. I think that if Aranea did not exist in the game, I think he's probably the strongest person in the game, as long as you build around him. I think if you have Rem, especially Rem at 3/3, she can absolutely make him just a monster. And I think that his burst capabilities in terms of, like, because you're going to alternate, right? So you use 4 skills opening to his EX recharged, and then after that, he's the same as Yuri, right? You're going to use 2 free, the 2 skills that you just recharged, you're going to use another darkness. You're always going to stay basically at 5 Valiant blows after until you're ready to go ham. And once you're ready to go ham, he is going to, I expect, because I'm going to token him and purple him, even though I had no plans and I barely have the ingots for it. I'm going to figure out a way. I think that he is capable of doing an insane amount of burst damage. And so I feel like people are really sleeping on it and are basically, yes, you can compare everyone in the world to Aranea, and everyone for now is pale in comparison. But that doesn't mean that you skip, I think, really fun, interesting characters, and the fact that he's fun, interesting, and hyper powerful. At least I think he's hyper powerful. People can prove me wrong, but I'm going to token him and I'll use him for a while. Especially if you have the team to make him work. And by the way, Rem never has to cure him. So the 5% regen is totally fine on him. Rem can cure the third ally all the time. And so he never needs to worry. I mean, she heals on her EX, but who cares? I think that Dark Knight Cecil and Rem are best friends, just as they were when Heretics 3 in wave 60, level 60 wave 3. Yeah, when I paired them then, and they were amazing, and that was without Dark Knight Cecil's EX, and yeah, I think he's going to be great.
Just to answer chat really quick before we move on, some questions about Decil is, one, I don't think launch should be underestimated. We always say, when we talked about Leo, we said launch isn't necessary anymore, but I've seen a lot of newer players use a launching character like Leo to go back and clear a ton of chaoses and content they couldn't before. A lot of them with really strict score requirements, like Barrett or Agrius or whatever. Like, launch can really, really help with a lot of content. It's great for burst damage. You can't tell me there aren't going to be any fights in the future that need that burst damage. And if nothing else, I mean, look at how he performs in a summon when everything's lined up for him. Like, holy crap. It is a lot of damage. Even if you just want to pull him as a friend, I'd welcome Decil friends on my friend list any day. And lastly, people are saying, well, with my spring tokens, if I had to pick a launcher, should I get Lael or Decil? The reason I hear a lot of people saying this, people are like, oh, well, Lael has better auras, which is true, and Lael has delay, which is true. But in terms of pure launch battery and in terms of raw damage, Lael can't compare to Decil. Lael, as a Brave Shaver on his own, is not that strong. Um, when defenses get high, it is a problem. But Decil can really, really, really decimate enemies. Plus the AOE capabilities. Let's be real. He has splash on what, like 3 abilities? His EX skill 1 has AOE, and HP plus plus also splashes. Like, I think it's no contest. Decil's better.
Mino, before we end this conversation, I just want to point out that Infamous Element asked us, do we think Diesel is an any team character? I responded, no, he is not. And he wants to know what the difference is between Beatrix and Diesel in that regard. So do you think you can address that in a useful way?
Oh, yeah, easy. Beatrix is boring. Decil is not. Decil
okay,
brings
can
a
anyone
lot of...
who can actually talk
I can add
it
things.
than
I can say things. Also, Decil has a lot of specialties that he does better than everyone else. On-demand launches are not as common as Beatrix's auras. I mean, Beatrix has defensive support, but I think it says something when, if you look at the call to arms, a lot of people ran Kimari instead of Beatrix. Because, you know, there are alternatives and they're not the best things. Also, she has like slow HP regens, which a lot of characters can have. She's got damage here and there, some battery. Like, I don't think her kit really stands out. It's like a jack of all trades, pull some stuff from here, pull some stuff from there. Like, you can you nullify HP damage? Well, you got Edge for that. You got Cypher for that coming up. There's other people who freeze HP damage coming up. You got Setzer. There's a lot of people who can do what she does. Yeah, Porum. There's so many people who can do what she does. Hell, General Leo mostly and Pestle are very, very comparable to her. But Decil, with the on-demand launches, with that much splash damage, with the dark damage, you know, dark DPS is very, very rare. The 20% last stand, as Josh loves pointing out in chat right now, what other DPS has a last stand like that? There's probably like 3 or 4 of them, and none of them at 20% like him. You know, he's unkillable like that. Huge party battery. Beatrix is not going to bring you that crap.
So we can talk about how wrong Mino is about Beatrix all night. You did mention Porum a couple times. We've talked about Porum. Our friend Drew Zane on YouTube did a kind of walkthrough and some kind of conversation about Porum as she is today and as she'll be in the EX era. So very thoughtful information. It's in our Discord under the information tab, but you can check out Drew Zane with a D on YouTube as well and check that video out. She's not coming up for a little while, but maybe some good things to think about because she does allow you to do that as well.
She's next month.
Yeah, she's coming up here in a few weeks, but not till next month. So let's talk about this event, this Burrows event. I know a lot of our friends in the Japanese version of the game really didn't like it. It did bring you 4 consecutive chaos fights, all of the same bosses. And so my kind of take on that is you had to do the chaos fight 4 times in a row. I mean, you could have spread it out, obviously, but I did it 4 times in a row. Different colors on each tier, so you had to bring, or different colors on each fight. So the first one was you can bring anybody. The second one you had to bring just 2 different colors on each one. But it's the exact same fight 3 times in a row, but with different characters. So part of it was super annoying because it's 3 super annoying waves of super annoying bosses. Part of it was kind of fun because you had to do it 4 times in a row, so you kind of got good at it. You know, you got used to the characters and were able to deal with them. So that's my take on it. I mean, we can go into we're going to have more time next week, so we can maybe go into the fights a little bit more next week. But you do fight the Phoenix, and it's a mechanic we've all most likely felt with. But the idea of having to do it 4 times in a row, I could see as very cool or very frustrating. What did you guys who have done it? What did you think of it?
Kriese, you want to go first?
Okay, this chaos is tanky as hell,
Yes.
mostly because the Phoenix just revives itself. And despite that, it has a lot of health. Like, it's probably... I don't want to, like, put any money on this, but it has one of the highest health pools for a chaos fight I've dealt with since chaos events started. It's just a long slog of a fight is the best way to put it. It's not terribly dangerous if you bring the right team, but it's long.
Dragoon 2008, is
ahead,
Burrow a new player-friendly event? No, not. Well, normal is fairly easy, so you can probably get through normal. But Abyss, which is a permanent content, is probably not. Although I did get a thing, I did ask last week, how was Abyss for new players? And WTB Riku said, I've been playing 5 or 6 weeks now. I have 10 purples, a handful of realized characters. He's talking about Abyss. The only area that gave me a little issue was the staff bow arrow area. I died twice to make it okay, Yuri, Aerith work. So, and was able to do it. So, that being said, if you've played 6 weeks and you're able to clear the current Abyss content, that's pretty impressive. But generally speaking, Dimensions End, Abyss, and this particular event, the Phoenix Burrow, the Burrow of the Phoenix, probably not the most new player friendly. If you're a real new player to the game, you're going to be focusing on your chapters, your lost chapters, play through at least level 100 of the current event in co-op. But before you get a few characters built up and some resources, it's going to be really hard to do that. So, sorry, Mino, what were you going to say about this event in general?
Back to this. I was expecting a lot worse because, as you said, it had a bad rep in JP. People were hoping they skipped it in GL. I actually enjoyed it. I think I'm in the minority here. It's a very early prototype to Abyss. I'm pretty sure this is where they were testing things out before they landed on Abyss. So it reminded me a lot of Abyss on the team switching. It reminded me of our own TCC challenges because it's like, okay, they give you 4 chaos fights. I don't know if you got there yet, Mark.
Yeah, I've completed it. Yep, I'm done.
Oh, yeah. So they give you the 4 chaos fights. The first one is no restrictions. And then it's like, okay, now try it with different characters. So it's like, hey, try the same fight, but keep changing your characters. And I liked it for some reason. It wasn't overly difficult. You didn't have to think that hard to beat it, but it was very tanky. So it was easy to make challenges around. I played it a bunch just to see, like, it was a great testing ground for characters. To see
I did.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I did. You could use the same characters on each of the events. You just had to have the crystal colors. I didn't realize that the first time I went through these 4 chaoses. I thought it was kind of locked out like Heretics, so you had to bring different characters. So I brought different characters on every single
I
event.
did too, yeah. I did too.
But here, just to give you a sense of the same event, same bosses. The stupid moss, the stupid dragon, and then the stupid phoenix. Here's my turns. I won't share scores, but here's my turns. The first time 101 turns with the green and yellow team, 110 turns with the blue and white team, 75 turns with the I'm missing a team. I don't know what's the first team. I'm missing a team. I don't know what my first team was. 85 turns with the first team. So, big, very, very big variation in terms of the different groups you used and how it really worked out. So, yeah.
Yeah, and just to agree with you on that, like I said, for some reason, I love Abyss, so that's probably why I like this event. Like doing the same fight and being forced to use different teams. It's like the TCC Challenge. I like to see how other characters perform and shine. And like I said, it's an easy enough fight, but a difficult enough stat requirement that it was fun to be like, okay, out of these characters, who actually does more DPS? How do the free turns actually add up? Like I had a lot of fun experimenting with it. So I actually ran this like 6 or 7 times. I was bored last night and today.
I agree. I enjoyed it. The bosses are super annoying. I mean, it would have been nicer if it was maybe a 2-wave chaos, or even a 1-wave chaos, so it didn't take so long because they were tanky, and obviously the turn counts are a little bit higher. We were talking about 50, on the real low end in the 50s. But as I said, I had 100 round turns and still got the scores and everything. But yeah, so I could see this frustrating the heck out of some players. And then, like you said, and like I said, a little fun to kind of do the same thing over and over again and just keep moving and kind of keep perfecting it and keep seeing what the different characters can do and different team comps. But yeah, you can steamroll it with basically a very similar versions of the same team. If you just want to get through it. But it is nice. The real cool thing is tons of free resources, right? Resources we were not necessarily expecting to get this event, because we did get Noctis early and we weren't sure when we were going to get Selphie. So this event for us was not 100%, at least in our minds. So the fact that we got it and we get those extra books and we get those extra ingots, very, very cool. I'm glad to have restocked some of my ingots and my books. So it was welcome. It didn't take me, very long, but you did have to think a little bit about it. So yeah. If you are struggling with this, I don't know what Macnell's going to do with the call to arms, because this is a little bit different. I don't know if he wants to put the effort in to get 4 different call to arms. I don't think he's done anything for Abyss yet, so I would assume maybe he's not going to do anything for this. But if you are having trouble with it, hey, come on our Discord. We have all kinds of great players who are going to be able to help you through it. And so come on and check that out. But yeah, as as a newer player, probably maybe get through normal, but I wouldn't kill yourself getting through normal. The good rewards are in the harder content, but you shouldn't necessarily kill yourself with a limited time event. Thankfully, you have plenty of time with Abyss, as that's permanent, and Dimensions End, as that is permanent. So the permanent events are good to go. All right. Well, we were going to talk about Dimensions End Entropy Tier 9, which just launched, because we really don't have a lot to talk about next week except for the chapter, and it will just have been released. We have about a week without content, which is fine. But so let's hold off on Dimensions End Entropy Tier 9. I believe the Tonberry Troupe has a beautiful infographic about it. It's not on there. Those infographics are not on the Flickr, right, Inc? How do we find those infographics?
You can actually just in Discord type planner.
Okay.
It's also on our forecast. On planner, there's a Tonberry Troupe analysis that pops up in MateriaBot.
Yeah.
And
I just shared it in chat too.
Thanks. Yeah, it's also in the banner forecast. If you, which I know some people keep open, but yeah, between those two, it's usually easy to find.
Yep.
When can we expect it being in the overall Dimensions and Entropy thing?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if Vayne knows to, because he's the primary person that works on all of those. Which props to him, because it takes 4 of us to do the other ones. But I don't know if he's going to add that in. We're going to keep them separate, but we are working on something to make stuff more accessible.
Awesome.
Gotcha.
Also, our friend Black Cloud Strife, or Black Nero, he has a nice video on Dimensions End. He's a global player who also plays the Japanese version of the game and has a good take on the Dimensions End. And I know he was on with Mino and Kriese last night on a casual stream that you can catch later if you haven't had enough 2.5 hours of us tonight. You can go listen to them last night as the event drop. But we'll talk more about it next week. I steamrolled through it without, I finally decided, hey, I've been sitting on Arnea for 3 months. I'm just going to pop her and go to town, or 2 months, whenever she came out. So, but yeah, come on Discord and talk about that. We will bypass our host discussion as it gets really hard to upload these and deal with them once they're over. I mean, we're already probably at like 5 gigs right now. So it gets a little hefty on my very, very old laptop. So looking ahead is the Act 2, Chapter 8, Whither the Wind Returns, with General Leal and Galoff, his EX and realization. That is on the 14th. Franz LC on the 19th. Blue Golbez, Paladin Golbez on the 22nd. The next Squex community stream, perhaps on the 27th. At least that's when it's scheduled for. And we believe before the end of the month, perhaps we'll get that final level 70 Awakening wave. Inkwelder, how can we engage with the Tonberry Troupe? Is there anything you want to share about upcoming projects or anything you want to hype with you? Thank you for being here, first of all. Always appreciate having you on the show. But anything you want to tell us about the Tonberry Troupe and how do we get in touch with you?
Sure. So the best way to get in touch with us right now is Discord. I also found out this week that we do have tonberrytroupe@gmail.com. So if you have any suggestions, you can always drop us lines on there or just reply to our infographics or message us on Reddit. Any of those are good. We have a massive project that should be ready this weekend. I was tempted to release it yesterday, but I think there's been a lot of hype with Dark Knight Cecil, and I'm prepping some last minute things. One of those last minute things is I'm extending, I don't know if anyone's used our resource planner, where you can basically pick which characters you're pulling or how many tickets and gems you're planning to use on a banner, and then indicate how many ingots and books you're using. I am in the process of painfully extending it out to current JP. That you'll be able to plan your burst tokens, your high armor tokens, which are from level 80 related stuff, I think. Actually, no, it has nothing to do with level 80. Never mind. But it does have to do with beating the next level of difficulty. So,
yes.
There's you are going to be able to basically extend your plans to JP, and I'll keep it up to date every month. So I think that'll be a really good resource. But even that, I hope will not even be the biggest thing that we release this weekend. So it'll be really fun.
Very, very cool. Well, thank you all for joining us. You can learn more about the Crystal Chronicles at tccpodcast.com. You can check out in the notes. I'm wearing my TCC podcast hoodie tonight, so you can check out our limited apparel shop. We are approaching episode 100 at the end of the month, and I am going to be announcing here the next couple of weeks some of the special things we're doing, including some giveaways. So make sure you're checking back on the various different giveaways we're going to do. They most likely will be what we'll call ingot pack giveaways. So about here in the United States, $20 gift cards or like gift cards to buy some in-game resources. Want to shout out a special thanks to the whole TCC crew, myself, Kriese, and Mino. We are the hosts who are here every week. Want to shout out to our mod team, Erolai, who is Lily on YouTube, Inkwelder of the Tonberry Troupe, J.A, Jin Lee on YouTube, Macnol from the Call to Arms, Quetz, the creator of MateriaBot, Shara, who is the head of Reddit, and Strafe, who is also on YouTube. Thanks to our design team, Dreamy, who did our intro video, Jin Lee, who does our backgrounds and emotes, Hate13, who did our intro narration, and a special shout out to our founder, not only myself, I'm one of the founders of the TCC, but also the founder of the podcast, Pierre. So talking with Pierre, and we're going to do something special with him here as well. So for myself, for Mino Spellgood, for Kriese, aka Zerink, and for the Tonberry King Inkwelder, this has been episode 97 of the Crystal Chronicles. Until next time, we wish you all good pulls, good luck, and until next time, goodbye.